Hey there, welcome back to Marketing Matchmaker. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jennifer Tamborski. I am your go-to expert in marketing. And today I want to dive into a topic that could literally save you thousands of dollars and a whole lot of time and frustration. Here's the deal. If you've ever poured weeks, months, maybe years into creating a course or a program, and you've spent that time tweaking every slide, polishing the logo, getting the sales page just right, only to launch it to crickets. This episode is your wake-up call because we're going to talk about how to validate your offer before you build it so that you can pre-sell anything. Yes, even if it's not ready yet. And you get to make sure you're building something people actually want to buy. Because here's the hard truth that nobody wants to tell you. If you build your programs, your services, your courses in a vacuum, you're actually building more of a liability rather than a money-making machine that we want our businesses to be. Validation isn't a nice to have. It is a non-negotiable if you really want to create consistent income. You need offers that actually sell. And validation helps to make sure that that's what's going to happen. So let's dive right into it because I've got a lot to tell you and a little bit of time to do it in. I want to start with something that I hear from entrepreneurs a lot, especially in the coaching space. And you might have even said this in the past. I know I have. This quote of, I'm working on something massive, something so big. Does that sound familiar to you? I know you've had to have heard it. I've heard it all over the place. And in fact, I've said it before. And those words feel ambitious. They sound like we're creating momentum in our business or with our clients. And reality is dreaming is a big part of creating a successful business. One of the things that I've learned after working with hundreds of service-based entrepreneurs over the years is that more often than not, the I'm working on something big is just a dressed up way of saying, I'm hiding behind this build because I'm scared no one will buy it. I say that with zero judgment and all the love because I've been there and I've had clients come to me that have been there. It is so much safer to live in a world of potential than to risk putting your ideas in front of real people and getting silence or the word no. There is a lot of fear when we launch something new. So what ends up happening is we stay busy, we tweak the slides, we refine the framework, we obsess over fonts and fussing with branding and diving headfirst into Canva like our lives depend on it. We rewrite sales pages over and over and over again. Because as long as we're building it, we don't have to sell it. As long as we're in motion, we don't have to be visible and risk putting our ideas and our thoughts and our brands out there. As long as it's not done yet, we don't have to risk asking for the sale. And the uncomfortable truth is, if you've ever said, I just need to finish these slides or make this tweak, or once I get the branding just right, I'll start promoting it. That's not strategy, my friends. That is self-protection. It is fear in disguise. And it's costing you time and energy and, more importantly, money. Because the longer you delay getting that out there, the longer you're operating on hope instead of data. And hope is never a strategy, business or marketing. Here's what I need you to understand. Validation is proof that your offer solves a real problem people are actively willing to pay to solve. Not that it's a good idea, not that your business bestie said it sounded cool, not that you got a few fire emojis on Instagram, not that you feel like someone should buy it. It's that people are willing to take out their wallets and say, yes, I need that. Validating your offer before you launch it is actually something that can speed up the process and make building it easier. How do you do that? Let's break it down. There's 3 steps that you need to know before you build anything. A course, a program, a training, does not matter. First, you need to know exactly who you are helping and what problem you are solving. Before you ever talk about deliverables, pricing, or launch plans, you need clarity on these 2 non-negotiable. Who exactly is this for? What urgent, painful problem are you helping them solve? We need to avoid vague audiences or general inconveniences. We're looking to get a real person with a real problem who is really stuck in that problem, moving in a direction that will help them solve that problem. This goes for every offer, no matter the price point, whether it is a micro offer, a free offer, a $100,000 offer. Does not matter. If you don't know who you're talking to and what problem that offer solves, you're never going to have buyers. People don't pay to solve nice to have problems. They pay to solve something that is deeply affecting them. They don't invest in someday solutions. They pay so that they can speed up the solution to their problem. They buy when something is connected enough emotionally that's not solving it is actually costing them more than buying your product, service, or solution would. It has to connect with them emotionally, mentally, and financially. So ask yourself honestly, is this a bleeding neck problem or just a mild headache? Are they going to bleed out if they don't solve it? Or are they just annoyed by it? A bleeding neck problem is an urgent, disruptive, top of the mind problem. It's the kind of thing that makes your ideal client say, I can't keep doing this. I need help now. That mild headache might be annoying, but they'll tolerate it. They'll say things like, well, I'll fix that someday, or when I have time or money or energy. And those problems, my friend, are never going to get fixed. Now, I will also say, a lot of this has to do with your messaging and how you're speaking to your audience about the problem. But at the core, it has to be a problem that they are deeply connected with and want to solve. If your problem is only solving the headache, they're not going to be reaching for their wallets. But if your offer speaks directly to the problem that is costing them clients, draining their time, stalling their business, keeping them up at night, ruining their health or their relationships, that, my friends, is what people are going to want to buy because there's urgency in that, and urgency drives action. When you match your message to this problem that people are actively trying to solve, your offer doesn't feel like a pitch. It feels like a lifeline, which makes buying so much easier. So before you build or sell anything, take a second and step back. Ask yourself, who are you helping? What problem are they living with right now that needs to be solved? And how does your offer help them stop the bleeding of that problem? When you answer those questions with clarity, validation becomes so much easier and sales become the natural next step because you know who you're talking to and you understand the problems that they have. The next step is to keep your offer simple. The simpler it is, the easier it is to sell. Complexity is going to kill conversions. The more you have to explain it, the less they're going to buy it. So many entrepreneurs think that they need to build out this fully complete course with modules and slides and workbooks and tech automations, 24/7 onboarding flow before they're ready to sell it. They also often think that they need to solve all of the problems in one offer. I want to tell you right now that that's a lie. And worse, it's a distraction, because what actually sells an offer is not the number of lessons or the size of your dashboard. It's the clarity of the outcome and the urgency in the transformation. And if you can focus on the offer or the problem that the offer solves and make it simple for them to understand why they need to buy it, you're better able to sell it to them. So if you're still stuck in that builder brain, in that I need so many things to make my offers work, here's your permission slip to stop overbuilding. Simplify it. Make it easier. Make it one step or one problem. A small thing. You don't need to figure it all out. You need one thing, a clear, compelling answer to the question, what will I be able to do by the end of this offer? That is your biggest piece. That's it. When you're creating an offer, you can look at it from this framework. I use it with my clients all the time. By the end of this program, course, workshop, session, you'll be able to, what are they doing? What are they feeling? How are they transforming that problem? I'll also tell you this, that blank space, it better be juicy, tangible, specific, and aligned with your ideal clients' wants and desires. We need to avoid vagueness. You'll have better mindset. You'll have tools to succeed. They don't want that. But if you're able to say something like, you'll enroll your next 3 clients without sounding salesy, or you'll map out your next 90 days of content in 1 hour, or you'll lose 20 pounds in 90 days. Those are things that actually move the needle. It's a transformation that your ideal clients can see, and transformation sells. The deliverables just support it. So stop selling the process and start selling the promise, because people don't pay for coaching, for calls, or curriculum. They pay for change. And the clearer and simpler you can offer that, the easier it is for your audience to say yes. The third step is get direct marketing feedback, because clarity comes from conversations. This is where so many entrepreneurs freeze. You've got an idea, you think it's good, you spend hours thinking about it, writing in your notebook, tweaking your Google Doc, even mapping out what that looks like. But when it comes to actually asking people if they want it, crickets. Or worse, you never ask. And I get it. Putting your ideas out there, especially before it's done, feels vulnerable. It's easier to guess than risk being wrong. I actually did this very successfully in one of my trainings. So Get Clients on Autopilot teaches you how to create a lead magnet from top to bottom. I validated the offer through a beta launch, which we're going to get into in just a minute. During that offer, I was discussing how ads can help support this. And one of the things people kept asking is for an ads training. That right there told me my audience wanted ads. They need to understand how to do that. So what do? I create an ads course next. That is what validation does. Because if you are guessing, you're gambling. And when it comes to your business, guessing is expensive. Instead of building and hoping someone will buy, go get in a conversation with people you want to help, who are your ideal clients. Maybe you have an email list that you can drop a conversation into and get responses. You're not selling here necessarily. You're gathering data, you're testing messaging, you're spotting where that demand is so you know what your next offer will be. Start a conversation. Don't just broadcast your ideas. This isn't about trying to go viral or fishing for vanity metrics. It's about really leaning in and listening to your audience, observing, asking, validating. And if you want to run ads to validate that offer, well, that can just pour a little bit of gasoline and also, honestly, make the timeline a lot shorter. When you have this data, you're better able to create something that is going to sell immediately instead of trying to continuously test things, or more importantly, instead of trying to create things that don't sell. Now, let's talk about how you actually pre-sell this offer. Because I will tell you right now, if you can have buyers before you actually sell it, or before you actually create it, you are so much more likely to have a successful launch. So one of the things I like to do is one of two things, either founders pricing. I do this with my clients all of the time, especially when they have things like memberships or programs or masterminds, or a beta offer. Beta offer is fantastic for things like courses. This is where you shift from testing to interest capturing. You're actually finding people who want to lean into your offer and you sell it to them. You do that by offering them something that they wouldn't get if they wait. Things like founders pricing, where it's a discount, and no matter how long they're in the program, they get the price that they stepped in at. Or a beta test, where you sell the course for a price that is much less than you would to everybody else. It is so great to use these things, especially with your warm audience. People who already know you, they like you, they trust you, they've bought from you before. And when you do things like keeping the spots limited or discounting discounting pricing or early access or personalized support or transparent messaging that really lets them know that the program is in development and the outcomes are still clear, you are able to sell to people before you even launch your offer. That makes you bring in money and pays you to deliver something that you already wanted to deliver. Make sure that when you are selling this, that you are selling outcomes, not the format. Avoid selling your modules or your weeks or the number of calls or the support. Those are support systems to your offer. Your offer always has to speak to what their problem is and how it solves it. Those are the only two things that people care about. I'm telling you right now, if you are trying to sell every other piece of your offer, just breaking down what they get, they're not going to buy it. They want a shift, a change, a breakthrough. They want a transformation that is shortened in time. That's how you sell this offer. And then collect your payments before you build. Do not build the entire offer before you have sold it. Why? Because building it without buyers is like renting a venue before you know who's coming to the party. It's expensive, it's stressful, and it delays tactics. Too many entrepreneurs waste weeks, months, sometimes years crafting the perfect program, designing every slide, recording every video, only to launch it and hear crickets. If you can validate your idea, pre-sell it to a small group of buyers, and then build it with them, for them, around them, you've got your proof of concept, which means that creating the offer itself makes sense. So when you build alongside your first buyers, you create something that's far more valuable than anything you could have dreamed up in isolation. You oftentimes get real-time feedback, and you can tailor the content to their actual needs. You get to watch their transformation unfold and collect testimonials and case studies as you go, which means when you go out to a cold market, that early version actually provides information to create momentum. When it comes to pre-selling, there are 3 things I want you to avoid. First, waiting for perfection before talking about your offer. This is the biggest trap. You keep telling yourself you'll start sharing it once XYZ is done. Reality check is perfectionism is procrastination in disguise. There is no things as perfect. You don't need a completely polished package to start building demand for it. You need a clear outcome and a willingness to talk about it before it's done. Also, thinking engagement or interest is going to lead to sales is a good way to lose money. Your post about the offer might get some likes and a few "that sounds awesome" comments, and you assume that that means they're going to buy. Here's the truth. Likes don't pay your bills. Comments are not conversions. If no one is joining your waitlist or booking a call or asking for a link to buy, that's your metric. Vanity metrics feel good, but buyer behavior is what matters when you are selling your program. And lastly, avoid building the back end before you validate this concept. I am a tech junkie. I love a good tech stack as much as the next digital marketer. But this is where you're going to end up burning out because you're going to spend hours setting up Kajabi or Thrivecart. You're going to be writing the perfect onboarding emails, building out an entire curriculum, and you haven't sold a single thing yet. That's not a strategy. That's over-investing in something that's unproven. You don't need a finished product to start selling. In fact, it's better to sell it first. You need the demand. And that only comes from talking about the offer and inviting real people to buy it. Here's what it all boils down to. You can't scale something no one wants. You can't grow a business no one's buying from. And you need to avoid building something no one's asked for. So before you spend your time, energy, and money building that perfect offer, make sure it's an offer that people are willing to say yes to. Look, if you're tired of guessing, tired of spinning your wheels, tired of ghost town launches, tired of posting content, crossing your fingers, and hearing nothing but crickets, it's time to stop hoping that your product, service, or solution is going to sell. It's time to start validating what you actually have. Because when you validate before you build, you stop wasting time, energy, and money on offers that don't convert. And you start building a business that's actually sustainable and profitable. I promise you, your future self, and more importantly, your bank account will thank you for it. And if you've listened to this entire podcast and you're still thinking, all right, Jennifer, I want to validate, but I'm not even sure what's keeping me stuck or where to go first, I've got you. I'm offering a free 30-minute strategy session where we'll do exactly that. We're going to uncover what's keeping you stuck. And spoiler alert, it's probably not what you think. Why your current offer isn't selling or your leads aren't converting. And your best next step to package, position, and pre-sell your next profitable offer with way more clarity and way less hustle. Head over to yourmarketingmatchmaker.com and apply for a free session. I promise you'll walk away with at least one actionable item that will help you to grow your business, increase your revenue, and scale your impact. You don't have to figure this out alone. Until next time, market smarter. Create a business that is designed for the life that you've dreamed of. And please remember, you don't need to build it first. You just need to prove it's worth buying.